All right, I'm here with Paul Osborne in sunny Florida at the Fort Lauderdale International Film Festival for the premiere of your film Favor,
yes,
which I saw here last night. So welcome to Florida.
Thank you.
We'll start off by, let me say that you are the writer,
Yeah.
director, cinematographer, editor,
Yeah.
and you did craft services too.
Well, I joke about that actually. Fortunately, we did have a craft services person who was kind enough to do all of that.
So tell us about the film.
Well, Favor is a dramatic thriller based on the notion that a friend helps you move and a good friend helps you move a body. So it's I wrote it for two actors that I know in Los Angeles who I figured are vastly underutilized and terrific. And because they are and very talented, I get to use them for nothing and con them into being in my film. So I wrote it as an acting piece for them, and I'm very proud of them.
Tell me about them.
Blaine Weaver and Patrick Day are my two lead actors. Blaine Weaver is been on the indie scene for a while. He was in a film called 6 Month Rule last year. He has done the TV guest starring circuit, ER, and NCIS. When he was a younger man, he was on ER, and George Clooney told him how to kiss a girl. So whenever you see Blaine in a movie kissing a girl, it's Clooney's instruction of how to turn the girl. That was his first on-screen kiss. But this is actually Blaine's thing is he's the voice of Peter Pan. He's the official voice of Peter Pan for Disney. So everything from Return to Neverland forward is Blaine Weaver.
Oh, that's
Video game.
That's a little creepy.
It's a little. Well, what's funny is he tells him he still gets fan mail for from Peter Pan, but not from children, from like 50, 60-year-old women who are really into Peter Pan. And he gets one periodically.
You should have had a little Peter Pan reference in the movie.
I should. And Patrick Day, but he's been acting since he was a teenager. I mean, he's been acting, so he was doing TV movies when he was like 17, 18 years old. And Patrick Day, my other lead actor, is also in acting forever. He's been acting since he was a kid. He played Huckleberry Finn in a TV movie version of Huckleberry Finn when he was like 12. He was in Ernest Goes to Camp as one of the main kids. As the group of misfits that Ernest gets to be in charge of, he's like the main misfit kid that Ernest has to turn around and help him straight up and fly right.
I think audiences will recognize him immediately.
Well, actually, if you go to because we raised a lot of our money on Kickstarter. If you go to our Kickstarter video, they don't take those down, they're still on Kickstarter. He's talking about his career, and he's like, I've been in this business for many years, and we show all these clips from Hollywood Hot Tubs 2 and from Ernest Goes to Camp and Huckleberry Finn. And he gave me access to the clips, so I'm like, I'm going to use them, pal.
How can people get to it?
The Kickstarter video? If you go to Kickstarter and just search Favor, Paul Osborne, it should come right up. Because they don't take those videos down. They're up there forever to review and check out.
That's awesome.
I should actually post a link to it like on our website. Because it's pretty funny. My actors murder me in the Kickstarter video. I take a bullet to the head.
So talk about the financing as long as we're on that subject.
Well, we did. We raised, it's with the collapse of distribution as a money-making property, as money-making entity for indie films, coupled with the economic crash of the end of the George Bush presidency, movie financing really dried up. And it's hard to finance a film under $50 million, and then you have to have movie stars attached, and it's got to be a thing. So it's very hard to finance indies. But along comes Kickstarter, which is a crowdfunding website. There's a couple other ones, but I find Kickstarter to be the most successful and really very useful. And whenever anybody tells me social media is not it's a waste of time, I go, but I finance the film using social media. It's very much driven by Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. So we financed our production budget entirely on Kickstarter, and I cashed in an IRA to finance post. but you don't have to repay the Kickstarter money. That's donated, and then you have that. Right. So we really only need to recoup what we spend in post to turn a profit on the film. It's an entirely new model, so we'll see how that goes. But
so you had Kickstarter.
Yeah. And otherwise self-financed.
Right. Yeah. You have producers on the film who were involved in the production besides the financing.
Well, the money, none of the producers. Well, one of the producers is my wife, Leslie. So
that's what I was getting at.
So we put in.
That's what I was getting at.
We put in money, but it was my IRA that closed. Okay. It wasn't hers. It was mine. So it's community property, but there's a prenup, and So it's technically my money that we use in the movie. Other producer is Tiffany J. Shuttleworth, and she's actually an animation producer. I mean, she's an experienced producer, but her big thing is she produced all those Barbie movies for Mattel. So we have this sort of odd pedigree of people coming down to make this little movie.
So you've got the money. You got to put this film on camera. What did you shoot it on?
We shot on the Panasonic AF100, which is a little. It's discontinued now, oddly enough. It's only a few years old. It's Panasonic's initial answer to the DSLR revolution.
Now, you tell us about how you got this film to look like an old school film movie.
Did you like to look at the movie?
It looked great.
Thank you. Okay, well, we shot with I shot with the camera. We shot with mostly available resource lighting. You know, we would put in the brighter bulbs into practical lights, but that's kind of how we shot it. And then a lot of it was post-correction. Bruce Goodman and I totally blank on the name of the company just because I'm so exhausted from being at the film festival. God, they're gonna kill me. They're gonna kill me, these guys, because they're the greatest guys.
Well, you talked last night about adding a grainy.
We did. So now I'm gonna go nuts. What's the name of the company?
We'll find it.
Bruce Goodman, our colorist. I told him what I wanted to do. I said we wanted to saturate the colors, wanted to give it kind of a cool look, and then I want to add a lot of film grain. I want to go for a 60mm look.
Right.
So he's been an experienced colorist for 20 years. He knew exactly what I wanted. So we went in and we pulled a lot of the color out, and then we added it's called Cinegrain. You can buy this. It's like a $300 plugin for Final Cut, and it's actual film grain. So now they've digitally removed the actual image and kept the grain. So you actually pick the film stock you want, and you layer it into the image. So we picked a heavy, like, reversal 16mm film stock, like a newsprint film, like one of those actual stocks, and it's actual, film grain, and then we layered it on top heavily.
I felt that it really has a timeless quality. It could be set in this 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s. I described it as a neo-noir
Hot
thriller.
Pixel. Hot Pixel is the vendor. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
They were great. They Hot Pixel did our color, and they did our grain, and they did our actually some of our sound work as well. And they're a very indie-friendly company in Los Angeles, and I highly recommend them. Art Freed runs it, and what's great about them is that, I mean, they're very capable. They're round-the-clock guys. They're experienced guys. They're not like newbies to the business at all. They want a piece of the action, and they'll work with. They're very negotiable. But the great thing was, and this was very flattering to me, was they gave me a really good rate, like an even more rate, because they just really liked the movie. Like Bruce, they showed it, he's like, I think I can get my colorist to do it if he likes it. And Bruce, fortunately, really liked it. He goes, yeah, totally, I'll work on this. So, Hot Pixel in LA, if anybody needs post work, I promise to plug them for the.
It's got a great look, great sound. Talk about the score, because it's unobtrusive, but it fits where appropriate. Very light touch.
Oh, good. Thank you. That was intentional. We wanted the film. The approach to the movie we took was cinema by way of anti-cinema. Like I'm like, we're not going to compete with a 67 billion track THX movie. So let's make this go. Let's make it feel real. Let's go the other way. So naturalistic performances, maybe scenes that are a little bit longer than what you're used to seeing. Handheld camera, available lighting, grainy, that sort of look. And we took it with the music as well. We wanted a natural sound design. So it's a full sound design, but it's very restrained.
Right.
Music as well. I'm very fortunate that my composer, I don't know if you know this, is Joe Kramer. And Joe's a kind of a big deal composer. He just did Jack Reacher. He's doing possibly MI5 now. And he's hit the big time. But he's been my composer forever. So I can say I discovered Joe. I discovered Joe Kramer.
One of the things, and again, we're not giving anything away, one of the things I loved was the use of flashbacks, because this is one of those films that I had in my head. I was watching, I'm thinking, all right, what if this was linear? What would I be thinking versus having the flashbacks? And I asked in the Q&A, and you said it was all scripted that way, which surprised me.
It is scripted. Well, I think it's, what's great is if you don't lock yourself into a linear structure, you have much more control over how the audience perceives events. Storytelling is so much information management. Like when do you reveal certain aspects of the story? And so many filmmakers, novelists, playwrights, whatever, lock themselves into telling things in order. And this is not the most, like if you see 10 Till Noon, that's a very nonlinear structure that I took with the script. But this one is Mostly linear, but yes, we do have moments where we dovetail back and we show you, you didn't know this happened. You didn't know this happened. Maybe you should learn this now. But as long as you do it in a way that's clear, the audience will follow it. And we're fortunate that it's hundreds years of cinema ahead of us, behind us. So everybody who sees a movie is usually pretty movie savvy, very film literate. But if you're not locked into a linear structure, you don't allow yourself to go there, and there's no reason you should. You have so much more control over the impact of your story. So that was why, but I knew exactly what I wanted to do with those flashbacks.
Yeah, I see so many indies, and I just love the fact that there are so many slow burns out there, and 2 acts of character development. And this opens cold. There's really no credits, and you're right there. Yeah. You've got the 2 guys talking about their great friendship, and here's what I need you to do for me, and boom, you're off and running.
Right. Why waste time?
Yeah.
This is my professor at UM actually, Paul Nagel. He always said, because he was my screenwriting professor, a very smart guy, and he always said, you're picking 120 minutes to tell your story out of a film that takes place over 2 days or 2 weeks or 2 months or whatever it is. You really need to pick the right 120 minutes.
Right.
Don't waste the audience's time. Don't show it if it doesn't need to be there. So really, everything in the film needs to be there. My feeling is let's just get into it, and especially with credits. I personally don't usually put in opening credits. If it is, it's just maybe just the title.
Right.
In this case, there's nothing. It's just the logo, and we just go off. Apocalypse Now, best opening of a film ever. Yeah. No titles. Because I figure, look, you know what film you're seeing. What am I going to tell you don't already know? There's nobody you know in this movie. And if they do, you already know they're in it, and it's probably why you're in the theater. So I'm not telling you anything you don't know. And people who really want to read all those names are the kind of folks, like me, who will stay through the end credits anyway. Right. So let's just get into it. And, we don't jump into, the first thing you see is them saying, I have a dead body, can you help me? But we do...
It's pretty close.
we do go right into... Hey, we've been friends a long time, blah, blah, blah. Introduce the 2 guys, gonna get a sense for who they are. Then we hit them with that thing. As Sid Field says, you do have a couple of minutes in cinema to get to it, but you should get to it soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a big believer in just don't waste the audience's time.
Yeah, and once you get into it, there's really it's the pacing is very consistent. Okay. There's no downtime. There are no long, okay, let's just relax for a while. At the same time, it doesn't just take off and go into crazy places. It's I wouldn't call it a slow burn. I call it a medium burn.
Medium burn. Well, it's a character piece. So at the end of the day, if you look at it as a thriller, we do stop being a thriller for a good chunk of time. It's about these 2 guys. I look at it as a drama.
Right.
So actually, it was funny. Our first screening for an audience anywhere was our world premiere. We didn't do a test screening of any kind. So outside of my living room, it had never screened before. And we screened it, and I was actually surprised at how viscerally the audience took it. And one of our first reviews called it a thrill ride, which I thought was really interesting because it's really just 2 guys talking. So I think we win. I think we win if you believe these characters
if the
enough.
ride is in your head.
If the ride is emotional because you're so into what they're going through and they're real enough for you, I think we win. It's a victory. So.
Yeah, I thought of it as almost like a buddy movie with a perverse twist.
The worst buddy movie ever. There was a columnist who interviewed me in Phoenix, and I think he only half listened to what we were talking about. He got that it was a friendship movie, but he didn't get that it was the dark side of friendship. And so he sort of made up a quote for me in the interview, like when the article came out, about us being heartwarming or something. I'm like, I know I didn't say that because I would never. It's like
no.
I would sooner say it takes place in space than say it's heartwarming. It's not heartwarming. It's heart chilling.
You made some very bold choices in a dark film like this. There's a generous amount of gallows humor. The filmmaker doesn't want the audience to take it too seriously, so he doesn't either. And there's that tongue-in-cheek aspect to it, and you don't have that going on here. This is pretty serious stuff.
Well, it's funny because some people actually tell me...
That's not a criticism.
Well, no, but some people tell me that they think of it as a dark comedy, which I think is really weird. We tried to be very human.
There are moments.
Like there's a blind date sequence in the movie, but we just tried to be very human with it. Like, what's the honest reaction? What would happen? What would happen here? And in terms of like the more villainous moments too, like we wanted it to be very human.
Yeah.
You understand where they're coming from. It's not, there's nothing black and white. There's no mustache twisting. There's no, here's a funny moment, and it's just, this is real. And and again, cinema by way of anti-cinema. That's how we approach.
It's not manipulative. It's
right.
Yeah. Because at some point I was thinking, all right, I've seen this before. Let's bring in the dark comedy, and it didn't happen. And I thought, wow, this is really dark stuff.
What's funny is a lot of people say, I felt like it was formula in the first third, and then it didn't go where I thought it was going to go. I didn't know where it was going to go at all, and that's really a huge compliment because, I mean, you're always, as a writer, especially if you've seen a lot of movies, you're always fighting formula because your brain always goes to the obvious.
Yeah.
Well, then this was what happened. I think because I started with character first, I mean, that was before I knew what the characters were going to do. It was create these characters for these actors, come up with a relationship that they could have, and then let's find a way to tip the scales. And then, should it be money? Should it be like a big come into a heist thing? Or should it? And I was like, no, a heist's been done. And I kind of came up with the idea of a dead body, and I thought, oh, well, this a friend helps you move, a good friend helps you move the body. Well, let's play off that riff. But the characters in my mind were already in place when I came up with that. So I think following the characters, it allows, because they're unique, it allows the film to be a little bit more unique. And I love that people tell me, like, oh, I wasn't sure what was going to happen, or I thought this was going to happen, or even if they debate afterwards about the motivations of the characters as if they're real people. Again, like I've won. If you're leaving the theater with any kind of, because it's completely hokum. These aren't based on real people at all. There's no true story hidden in there. It's all out of my head and knowing sort of the actors, what personas I thought they would be good at.
The thing about it, to me, being risky also is audiences will accept some pretty freaky stuff, late in the game in the third act, if they've been laughing and if there's been some comic relief,
right?
Because that takes it out of the realm of reality. But because you don't have that comic relief, when the really visceral stuff, when it gets real, it's like, oh my god, and the audience you could hear a pin drop.
Yeah, it was good.
And I was waiting for them to come out and say, oh my god, I was horrified. And they were like, wow, I loved it.
There's a moment, and if you've seen the movie, you know what moment I'm talking about, where I'm like, I was writing the script and I thought, this is going to be the walkout moment. This is where I'm going to lose about half the audience.
I thought the same thing.
We haven't lost anybody. I haven't seen anybody walk out in that moment, and no one's everybody's like, oh, I can't believe what happened, but they feel it was earned. They go, but I can't believe it happened, but I believe he did it.
Yeah.
So they bought into the reality of it.
Yeah.
So thank God. I mean, but I'm not afraid to, I guess, to fail. I guess. I mean, I'm not afraid to like aggravate half the audience if I feel it's genuine for the movie.
Well, that's the art.
Yeah. If this is right, then enough people will get it that I'll be okay. That it's and if it fails, then it's a risk. That's what you do.
Yeah.
But fortunately, like we haven't really. No one's told me, oh, I couldn't. That took me out of the movie. I can't. No. Which is great. So.
Yeah. So you talked about your shooting style, available light. You did it all handheld yourself. You held that camera.
Yeah.
You had some long takes, and you didn't have a whole lot of time to do this. How long was the shoot?
Shoot was 18 days, and 3 6-day weeks, and we only went over 12 hours one day. And that was the day we planned to go over 12. That was the day we had Jeffrey Combs, and I just knew we had to squeeze him in. We were losing our location. We had to get like 17 pages done, and I didn't want to make him wait around. So I said, let's just schedule him at hour 12, and we'll give ourselves 4 hours to shoot him. We actually finished early. We planned a 16-hour day. We finished at 15 and a half hours. So we still finished early. The way I was able to really save time, and this is what Chris Nolan did on Following, his first movie, apparently. So I did steal the idea. Was he rehearsed heavily beforehand, and down to blocking and everything else. I thought, that's a great idea. I want to shoot like it's exploitation. I'll write it like it's art. I'll plan it like it's art. I'll rehearse like it's art. I'll cut like it's art. It'll take forever. But I want to shoot it like I'm making a movie for Roger Corman and just go fast. And that's what I did. So I was able to work with Pat and Blaine for weeks. So every scene had been dissected and discussed, and who am I, who are you, and blocked, and they were off book, and we did everything. Then we get to location, we would just just adjust the blocking for where we were. And so on take one, we were already in a good place.
Yeah.
And they knew where they were. And if maybe I would remind them, remember you see the thing? And oh, yeah, that's right. So there was a lot of already stuff there. The supporting acts we didn't get a lot of rehearsal with. We did some, but it was hard. Like, can you come and rehearse with us heavily for your 10-minute part? Because it's 80% of the movie is just the two of them. But that saved us a lot of time, and so we just went quick. And it's because I was shooting it myself, I didn't have to interface with another human being to say, this is what I want it to look like. If I had a more time, longer schedule, I would have loved
more
to
money.
have a DP, more money, a DP who I could, who could maybe translate the images in my head better to the screen by far. But because I was, it was a tight schedule, I'm like, I don't have to run my shot list past this guy.
Right.
I can just move to the next step. And I've been an assistant director. I've been an AD. So I was ADing while shooting. Again, that's just from doing homework. You do your homework, you know your shot list in the back of your hand. I had it written down, but I remembered everything. I'm like, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. And it's kind of, I'd plan the shot list, plan the shoot as an AD. I shoot it as a DP, and there never had to be a conversation. It was instantaneous in my brain what was happening. So oddly enough, not having conversations on set takes time. I mean, that takes time to have them. So not having them saves a lot of time.
Right.
We're able to shoot very quickly.
A lot of night shoots too, which is tough.
We shot 1 week of days and 2 weeks of nights. Mm-hmm. And some nights we had 10, 11 pages. And some nights were shorter. Like the scene where they first go into the motel and they're discussing how to move the body. Not a spoiler, it's in the trailer.
Yeah.
It was only 3 pages, and it was our second to last night. I'm like, we're going to knock this out, and we're going to be home early. And it took 9 friggin' hours to get those 3 pages down. It was horrible. Wow. It was just, and it was all me. It was all just trying to get it to look right, because the room was a weird angle, and the depth of field was really shallow because we were shooting in low light, and it was hard to get the shots. And I just went on and on the actors were total troopers, letting me sort of find what I had to find for that. But for the most part, we were able to shoot very fast.
You mentioned Combs. Tell us that story.
How he became involved.
No, about how you didn't think he'd want people to talk.
Well, yeah, Jeffrey Combs agreed to do the movie because it wasn't a horror movie. Because he liked the script and he's like, I'm a real actor. I want to do real stuff. So he very gracious moved his family vacation to come do it. Did it for scale. Came down, and I was I didn't know him. There's no trailer. There's no dressing room. So I was very nervous about it. And I said, guys, he's just treat him like a regular actor. No special treatment. I mean, be nice, but don't mention Reanimator. Don't ask for his autograph. Don't bring your Herbert Westall to be signed. Nothing like that. Don't mention Reanimator. So he shows up on set. And I was actually, we were shooting the Office stuff, and I was on set with Blaine when he arrived. Blaine was wearing this bright green tie. And we walked out, and the first thing Jeff Combs says to either of us is "Oh, Reanimator green, is that for me?" Yes, we can mention Reanimator. Yes, it's okay.
Okay. I know you have to get to another screening. Let's talk about, you've got distribution. What can you tell us?
When are you going to air this?
As soon as I can.
Well, we're all but signed with a VOD company, and we're going to announce that in Austin this coming week.
All right.
So stay tuned to our Facebook and Twitter channels.
All right.
And
it should be out sometime.
April is the wind. Early April is what I'm told they're aiming for. I discussed that with them. Like, it could change. There could be, you got to trust that your distributor knows what they're doing. But the plan is early April.
All right, so watch your Twitter, which is
Paul Makes Movies.
Paul Makes Movies.
Or our Facebook, you can go to Favorite Movie.
Favorite Movie.
Or favoritemovie.com.
Favoritemovie.com.
Which gives you access to our Twitter, our Facebook, our blog, or blah, 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 all of it right there.
All right, so
we won't be shy about letting you know the film's available on iTunes and VOD and Hulu and everything else. And we're playing in New York on the 7th. So if you go 7th of November. So if you get a tug, you can actually buy tickets for that screening right now.
Great.
Or our favoritemovie.com page has all our screenings coming up on the handy dandy screenings page with links to buy tickets.
Paul Osborne, director of Favor. Good seeing you. Great seeing the movie, and hope people get to catch it.
I hope so too. Thank you, Larry.
Sure.
Larry 411, everybody.
Okay.
It's the tits.